Oh, welcome to Two Girls, One Pod. This is Yvie Jones. I'm recording on Wurundjeri country, but recording from Gadigal land. We have the effervescent, the beautiful, stunningly smart, hilariously funny Rosie Waterland.
Oh my goodness, stop. Thank you.
I can't believe we got you.
Shut up. I have nothing to do. You were like, when can you do it? And I said, well, I'm just riding at home. When do you want me?
I know. Well, I didn't know that you're just the gist. You were having a break.
Yeah.
Is it just a break?
Yeah. So we'll be back with a new co-host.
Okay.
With me.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're just sort of rejigging, readjusting, figuring out how to move forward, and just But I'm pumped. I'm excited. I miss it. I'm excited to get back. Like,
it's
even you asking me to do this, I was like, get a microphone in front of me. I miss it. So very happy to be here.
Oh, good. And are you okay
Yes.
with that pod as it was?
Yeah.
That last episode was beautiful. It was really vulnerable.
Oh, thank you.
And lovely. Is Jacob okay?
Yeah. I think we launched into it as friends.
You're best friends, aren't you?
We've known each other since drama school, which was 2005. We first went to drama school, and I think we've never tried really working together, and it was tricky, and you sort of, especially with how big Just the Gist got, and we were touring and doing breaking news and also stories, and it got to a point where we were just more co-workers.
That changes a lot, doesn't it?
It does. The dynamic really changed, and we didn't neither of us were liking it, and so we just sort of decided, let's decide how we want to do this, and we thought it was probably better for him to go do other things, and because I really wanted to keep it going, so because Just the Gist has been my baby for so long. We're going to try, see how it goes. But yeah, no, I'm okay. It's been a really positive thing.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
That's really great. It's actually so similar to Angie and I.
Yeah.
And that I wanted to keep it going, and it just wasn't for her. And, when you're best friends with someone, you have to, when, like you just said, like bringing in a professional, even though Angie and I, we were already known as a couple on, in the public eye, it changes your friendship. And,
it does.
You both have different work ethics, you both have different wants and needs, and if they don't align professionally, you can really blow up something quite beautiful. And I think it's great that you're going to keep Just the Gist going, the same as Two Girls, One Pod. I'm keeping going because our listeners, I think at the end of the day, they're not the most important thing. We are the most important thing, and you've got to make sure that all parties are happy. And that's why I remember saying to Angie, the most important thing is that you be happy. Yeah. And if this is not making you happy, you have to move on. And then it's all about our listeners. And if you're loving it and it's your baby, I feel like this is my baby, and I'm only just almost coming out of my shell with it now that it's mine, and that I'm like, I can't believe it that I get to kind of call the shots and
drive the ship, and
things that you really had to take other people into consideration for, and things that you had to compromise on. You don't have to do that now, and that's I wouldn't be surprised if you end up kind of with a rotating chair as well, because you run Just the Gist so well that would you consider something like that? Because I would be happy to come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I wanted to not rush into anything. I thought just take a few months and really think about how best to move forward. And I think the thing with Just the Gist is, although the fans really loved the friendship between Jacob and I, and there's a lot of parasocial love there, like a lot of parasocial relationship, I think, with the fans feeling like we as a duo were like, people listening thought they were the third of our best friend group. You know what I mean? So I get that was really important to people. Oh God, but also with Just the Gist, from the moment I started coming up with the concept, it was always a very clear concept that sort of put the content first. And so I really thought people are going to miss Jacob. Of course, he was brilliant, but people still just really want the Just the Gist content. Like the amount of people who, as funny things have happened in the news, like, oh my God, like just with the Titanic submarine thing and now this mushroom lady and all this stuff happening, people keep sending me messages going, can you just record a voice memo on your phone? I just need to hear you talking about it. Like, and so I think, honestly, I feel like even I could step back from it if it was run faithfully to the Just the Gist ethos. Do you know what I mean? So I'm really proud of the fact that it's as its own product is really quite distinct and can move forward, and people want it to move forward. Like, they just want it to move forward regardless of, you know, what combination of hosts are there. But there is it'll be one co-host.
Okay.
And it's happening now.
So you've got
wheels
someone.
are in. Yes.
Okay, great.
Wheels
I
are
love
in
that.
motion.
I'm excited.
It's very exciting, and I'm pumped to get back to it. Really pumped. I miss it.
Oh, you must. And
yeah, I really do.
it would miss you.
Yeah,
The heart.
I think so.
The heart of Just the Gist is beating hard, and it's beating for you.
Yeah, it does. It's probably one of the things I'm most proud of. And like I said in that last episode, just the community that's been created around it, and just the fact that I turned storytelling, because that's all it is. It's just telling cool stories, and that's what I love doing. And I made that into something that so many people really loved. Like, so it's I'm just pumped to get back to it and to be with it again. It's like it's almost like missing a friend doing it, like missing a you know, when actors like finish playing a role and they say, oh, I'll miss her. Like Renee Zellweger says, I miss Bridget Jones. Yeah. It's kind of, I miss Just the Gist. It feels weird not doing it every week. So I'm really excited to get back to it. But I wanted to take the time to really think about how to do it properly, like how to do the next steps well.
I think that's very, very smart thing to do as well, because you don't want to it up.
No.
In that way, or yourself. You know, get to the point where you don't want to do it anymore because it's just become a logistic nightmare or something. You know, you've taken a break and you've really had a good think about it, and you're going to get what you want, clearly.
Yeah, it has to be fun. It has to be. And for me, it's never, although our ratings and our downloads got like to monster levels, but I never thought about that. Like there are episodes that, you know, are some of our highest downloaded of all time that I think, that was kind of an episode, like an okay episode. Like, there are episodes where I think the storytelling was just so exactly what I wanted it to be and what I wanted Just the Gist to be, in terms of distilling information in a way that makes it accessible to everyone. And some of those episodes aren't the highest downloaded ones, but I don't care, because it's more about like the art of storytelling and the content to me that really matters. So yeah, that's how I want to drive it forward. And if you're not having fun and if you're not telling stories the way you want, then it's noticeable. The audience can notice. So you got to do it.
Every time the audience,
you got to be true to yourself. Well, you got to think about what you want first, numbers, all of that stuff second. Like,
that's
comes
the business
later.
side of it, and that's for your bosses to worry about. You're the creative side of it, and that's what you have to focus on. And the audience, they don't give a shit about anything else except for you and you telling them stories in the best way you know how.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your other projects that you've done in the past. You also had a podcast. It was an award-winning podcast. Mm-hmm. Now, before that podcast, you had a book called The Anti-Cool Girl, which is one of the best books I've ever read. Like, it was just such an enjoyable, real, honest, vulnerable, awkward.
Yeah. Thanks.
Just, it was so relatable, you know. I've always looked at you and you're so very similar to me. You know, we're both fat women. We're both funny. We're both really smart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I mean, our
upbringings
are quite different, but you know, lots of trauma for both. But then your mum, who, you know, is a really interesting woman.
That's a nice way of putting it. Yes. interesting woman.
Yeah, she's interesting. She's definitely that. So, and,
Yeah.
that's as much as I can say about someone else's mother.
Yeah.
But you started your podcast from the back of the anti-cool girl because your mum says your memoir was a lie. So you had a podcast
Yeah.
called My Mum Says My Memoir is a Lie. And that was one of the best podcasts I've ever heard as well.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
So
yeah.
that was so interesting because you did that with your mum.
I did. So, yeah, my memoir, The Anti-Cool Girl, came out when I was 27.
How old are you now?
I just turned 37.
Okay.
So, yeah, about
10
a decade
years,
ago
wow.
now. Or maybe 26. I think it was 2015 that it came out. So, yeah, I was about 26. And I would never have written a memoir that young if I hadn't had something to say. And, I had this quite traumatic, as you put it, interesting childhood. My parents were drug addicts, alcoholics, and my sisters and I spent a lot of time shipped to different places and being wards of the state and all that kind of thing. And so I wrote about all of that in the book, not thinking – my dad died when I was young, so he wasn't a factor. I thought my mum would never read it because at the point I wrote it, her alcoholism was so bad. Like we were told – for a couple of years running, like she's not going to survive the year. Like she may have 6 months, like her liver damage and all that kind of thing. She was so unwell. And so my sisters and I had kind of resigned ourselves to the fact that like we were already grieving that she was kind of gone. She certainly didn't have the capacity to read a book. So I wrote it thinking she would never read it. And then as she does from time to time, neck minute, record scratch, she got sober. After a particularly she reached a place with her health where she very nearly died. She was in hospital for 6 weeks and that kind of kicked something in her brain to stop drinking. And so, yeah, she got sober and read the book and wasn't pleased.
What do you can you tell me, do you remember her first reaction?
She has a complicated, ambivalent kind of reaction to the book. So she's very excited that I wrote a book that, was so successful and it was a bestseller. And she likes that, I had achieved this level of, I guess, kind of fame and success. But then she didn't like all this before what I said about her. Yeah. So she said she had an old friend from school who told her, Lisa, don't read it. And so that made her go, I'm reading it.
I've got to read it.
And, it's not – there's unflattering stuff in there about her, about my childhood and how it went. But I said, my one rule when writing the book was I will only write what I remember. So even if my sister said to me, I remember blah, 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 I'm like, well, I'm not putting that in because that's your memory. It's not mine. So I just wrote it how I remembered it. And she just said to me, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Like none of this, it didn't happen that way. Rosanna. She's the only one who calls me Rosanna. Oh, nonsense, Rosanna. Yes. That didn't happen. It was so fascinating to me that two people could have completely opposing memories of the same events. And I had loved Augustine Burroughs' book, Running with Scissors, that he wrote about his childhood. And he talked a lot about his people in his family completely denying that it was true. And so, the creator in me thought let's make something out of this. And so I said, let's do a podcast. And we basically recorded this podcast called Mum Says My Memoir is a Lie. Straightforward. And each episode is me reading through each chapter of the book, and we'll read one chapter and then just talk about what is and isn't true according to her, me, whatever. And it was a lot. It was a lot to do. It was it was emotionally intense and hard. Part of me wishes the success of it was amazing. It's been downloaded, I think it's close to 12 million times now. it's still, even though it was a closed thing of 25 episodes because it was just the chapters in the book, it still gets thousands of downloads a month. Like, even though it finished years ago, it won, the Aquifer Podcast of the Year. It did so well, but emotionally sometimes I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done that, just because you get a lot of power in owning your narrative. And particularly for me as a writer, as a storyteller, writing that memoir was me saying, this is what happened, this is what I remember, and getting to own that narrative was really important. And then I essentially kind of gave it away. Like I said, I gave the person who abused me or neglected, whatever you want to call it, the cause of my difficult childhood, I let her sit in front of me and deny the narrative that I had got a lot of power from. So it's an incredible piece of art, like, to listen to. It's an amazing, I can appreciate that it is a really incredible podcast. But emotionally, I still sometimes go, I don't know if that was the best choice. So it's hard. I'm proud of it, but I don't know.
I know exactly what you mean. What I take from that one statement and one question. The statement is, so many people that write about other people in the real world never, ever give that other person the right of reply. Yeah. And that's a really big thing for me. I don't like to talk about other people without at least giving them the right of reply. But memoirs they're just not geared that way.
Yeah.
But my question is, how did it make you feel when she just constantly denied? Like, I mean, apart from what was on, also the fact that podcast, it's ageless, and that's why it's just going to be downloaded for the rest of eternity, I believe, because it's so ageless. Like, it's not time stamped. I mean, you have to listen to this because it's current events, and it's going to appeal to so many people on so many levels. But your mum's, I don't know, when I listen to it as someone who also has a parent who used to do the exact same thing. That did not happen, Yvette.
Yeah.
The person that calls me by my full name. You are just making that up. I haven't done that publicly, and you have. The way I listened to it was, your truth was the sober one.
Yeah.
And it was the one that, I don't care how old you were, a memory is a memory. And for a child, you don't have a lot of experience to mind. So therefore you have this distinct memories of things for how they happened, and not even how you could articulate how you felt at the time. You only know you felt how you felt. Then you, as an adult, could articulate what you felt as a child. But what you had as a child was a memory that was so real and so spot on. So for a parent to be able to have a rebuttal, I think was a really great thing, a choice to make creatively, because it helped so many people when they're listening to say, this is how it is in so many homes when the parent is so defensive and then becomes on the offense, on the attack, because they're so mortified by the reality of the truth of what they've done. That and then also you have, they weren't sober. They have the recollection may not even be there, that they've created their own memories. So, your mother had that and that, but my question, going back to my statement and then a question for you, was, even now, like, how do you reconcile being told to your face, you're a liar, by the one person who should be your everything?
Yeah, well, she has said worse to me, but
isn't that interesting, the way you just said that? You made it like, well, there's worse.
Yeah, there's worse. It's a lot of everything you just said. Our running joke was, you were drunk, well, you were 6. So how do you, that was but my older sister and I went very different directions in terms of how our trauma manifested. She remembers nothing. Like, I tell her things like the night my mother was chasing us with a butcher's knife and we had to jump out a second-story window and go find neighbours. My sister has no memory of that, and it is one of the most vivid memories in my mind. I think it's because I have a post-traumatic stress disorder so I still get flashbacks and I get things like that. But for me, the memories, it's like they're tattooed on my brain so vividly. And for my sister, they disappeared. They've gone somewhere. And so I knew that I remembered things very clearly. I think part of it as well was even when I was a kid, I loved writing and storytelling as a kid. I knew I would write a book one day. Even then I knew it was content. I was like, keep it up, you guys. Like I'm clocking all of this. I'm filing this away because, I even had a sense then that it was a story. But I think also very much what you said about not being able to face the truth is a big part of what my understanding was of what she was doing. I don't doubt that there are some things she remembers differently to me. And, there's that age-old saying, like, there's three versions of the truth or whatever. There's your version, their version, and whatever's in the middle. Whatever, sure. But I do think also for her, she probably does remember a lot of it the same as me, but to accept that for her, to admit that, she can't go there. No. She can't change it, and it's too painful to open that box and know what you did and what you put your kids through. So I think for her as well, it's self-protection.
Absolutely.
So I was coming at it with that understanding also. Like, I've been in therapy a long time. I started getting PTSD symptoms when I was 17. So by the time I did this podcast with her, I'd been in therapy for like 15 years. And so I sort of was able to approach it with a bit of insight in that sense. And, also I think what helped is that essentially I was the host of the podcast. Yeah. So I was very mindful that I couldn't just let it devolve into raging arguments because I was the one driving the bus. Yeah. Like, I would read the chapter while my mum sat there and then I'd say, so what do you think of that? Like, it was my job to ask questions and to keep it moving and to, so I also, that kind of, I think, helped keep me emotionally, at least in the studio, a step back from it because I had a job to do. Like, I had questions to ask. I had stuff that I wanted her to, she's not, media trained or anything like me. So it was my job to help her articulate what she wanted to say by asking her the right questions and stuff like that. So it was a combination of a lot of things that allowed me to sit there and do it. But then, like I said, in the years since, I've thought, maybe that wasn't the best choice, but the artist in me, if I had the chance to go back, I'd do it again. Good. So I would do it again. So because it's one of the things I'm proudest of that I've ever created and done and made. So not easy, but it's such a beautiful piece of art.
Oh, you're so right. And I'm really, really glad that you said that. And that dichotomy, probably not the best. I question whether it was the best decision, but I would do it again. Thank you, because it is so incredibly helpful for so many people. How's your relationship with her today?
It just comes with a lot of boundaries. She's not drinking now, as far as I know, although sometimes I suspect she is. But
how far away does she live to you?
She lives out west in Sydney, and I'm sort of close to the city, so we're about 40-minute drive from each other.
Each other often?
Not really. And I have rules, like I won't answer the phone after 5 p.m. I won't. If she gets belligerent in text messages, I just sort of straight away say, I'm going to block you for 24 hours because, because she's got it's hard to pin down a diagnosis with her. A lot's been thrown around over the years, like borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder. Some people have said bipolar. Yeah. Other people, you could just say trauma. Who knows? But she's just not an easy woman. And the boundaries have to be strict, especially when she's drinking. But I will say one thing that has really turned things around for her are her grandchildren. My older sister Rhiannon has 5 kids, and my mum really loves looking after them and having them in her life. And I think it's a big reason why she doesn't drink as much as she used to, because to be around for them and to be sober for them is really important. And I think she's also trying to
be the parent.
Yeah, have some sort of maternal impact in a way that she didn't once. And she gets so self-righteous with Rhiannon about like how to raise the kids and how to discipline them, and you're letting them stay up too late. And Rhiannon and me are like, Mum, we were literally in foster care. Like, settle down.
Sit down.
They can be on the iPad for an hour. Yeah, like it's so funny. She gets really she's definitely living out a kind of maternal fantasy dream, whatever with it. But I'm not going to deny that she is great with the grandkids. She's so good with them.
It's a second chance, isn't it?
It is. And I think it's been a really healthy thing for her. It's kept her on a path that she would have gone down a very different, worse path if not for the grandkids, for sure.
My dad was the same. When my brother had kids, he became the father that we never got.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I've never spoken to my brother about it because both of our trauma is very different, even though it was exactly the same.
Yeah.
They say that, you can all be in the exact same house and you say that you bring your children up together, but every single child has a different story.
Yeah.
And every single parent has a different story of how they brought up a child or where they were, because everyone is at a different place every day of their lives, trying to live together, trying to be that codependency in a house. But watching my dad, I could only talk to my mum about it and say, I was just so angry. And I still am. I still have just so much anger that they got what I didn't get, and that I had to watch him be this beautiful grandfather, but just cut off the grand, like just be this beautiful father that I never got. And watch it happening right in front of me. And then, the kids saying something or doing something wrong and him not hurting them. I couldn't reconcile it. I was like, I don't know why aren't you hitting? I would get hit for that, and I'd be say to my mum, I don't understand. Why didn't I, and my poor mother, she was just in the middle of it all. But that's, you were just saying before therapy, like, my God, therapy, is that just not the best invention in the world?
Thank God for therapy.
Thank our lives for therapy.
Yeah. Truly, and it
wouldn't be alive.
I'm so lucky. Like I was initially sent to a child psychiatrist because I was 17 when I started getting PTSD symptoms, and I still see him now, and I'm 37. So it's been essentially 20 years. And there have been times over that 20 years that I've not been able to afford it, and he's just let me continue coming. And
that's how it should be.
Yeah, he's been really great that way. And I've had friends say things to me like, Rosie, you've been going for 15 years. Like, if he was good, wouldn't you not be going anymore? Like,
that doesn't work
and it's
like
so
that.
hard to explain to people. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. The consistency that he has offered me, sort of, especially with traumatized children and particularly with neglected children, I think he very much knew, and it's why he let me keep coming at times when I couldn't afford it, is that the relationship you have with a therapist sort of rewires your brain into believing that there are consistent adults in your life who will be there for you.
Yes.
So I think that he always stuck with me because of that. But also it takes time. Like there have been periods, like I've had the last couple of years, a rough time mental health wise. And I just was thinking, oh my God, like I'm 35, this is still happening. Like why? But the major thing I've learned the last few months in particular is that I've looked at how I've handled things getting difficult, and I've handled it so much better than I would have 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago. And that is just something that takes time. And I was saying to him just last week, I've recently gone through a breakup about a month ago, and you know, I've had to move and it's been hard and just all the usual painful things that come with a breakup. And I said to him, you know, Stephen, I think I've realized I'm doing forward motion and I'm trying to just keep going and I don't feel the best. Like, I'm pretty sad, but like, I think I just have to feel shit for a while. And he said, yeah. And I said, like, I can see like I've got things on the horizon. I've got deadlines that I'm finishing now. So books that will be coming out next year and you know, things will get better. But right now I'm feeling so shit. But the only way through it is to just be through it. The only way through shit is to be in the shit. Yeah. And he kind of looked at me like his magnum opus was finally like realizing, like it was like 20 years. Yes. Oh, Rosie. Yes. Like he was so like, it was like, he just couldn't believe that it was, finally coming together. She's getting
the lighting changed and there was a spotlight on you all of a sudden.
Like you can't, therapy isn't about learning how to be happy all the time. It's about learning how to and trusting that you are capable of being okay when things are shit and that you are capable of managing it when things are shit. And I have not been in the past. You know, I've handled bad feelings not well because I've wanted to just avoid them, hide from them, not feel them. And when I said to him, yeah, I think I'm just going to feel a bit shit for a couple of months, aren't I? And he just was like, he just couldn't. He was like, she's got it. She's got it. And then I was like, I've got it. Like, but I'll still keep going. It's not like then I was like, okay, thanks, bye. Never see you again. Like, of course I'll keep going. But it was huge. It was a huge moment for us both, I think. And that's what I mean when I say it takes time.
It does.
It's my 20th year seeing him and I've only just realised.
You should get a trophy or something from him, or give him a trophy. I don't know,
I think
you get the trophy because you've reached a milestone in understanding. And you know what you were saying before about people like just not getting it. I always say to people, do you go to the gym for a year and go, well, I'm done, I'm fit, the end, thank you, never going again? My current therapist, well, my recent therapist, because I'm not seeing her at the moment.
Yeah.
When I started seeing her, she said, why are you here? And I said, well, since the lockdown, I've started getting anxiety that I've never had before and blah, 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 like telling her. I said, and I've had therapy for so many years since I was 17 that, you know, at 50, I'm like, I have breaks and I've had a break, but I'm ready to come again. But the best way I can explain it is I have so many tools that I've used from therapy that are in my, my armory.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said to her, I'm just reaching in at the moment in my tool bag and my tools are missing. I can't find my tools or they're disappearing or they're broken. I'm pulling out a wrench and it's not doing the job anymore. And she said, oh my God, that's a great way of explaining it. And I was like, and this is a great way for listeners to hear this and say, it is not about, oh, you've been going for 20 years. Gee, you must have a shit one if you're not getting it. Well, you're getting somewhere. And then you regress and then you go forward and that's life. I remember Kylie Minogue saying, the day I say I have nothing left to learn in like as far as singing or music or she says I may as well retire. She said something along those lines and I just thought, gee, that was smart for a little green fairy. Like what a smart woman to know the humility of how every single day you've got something to learn about yourself and your industry.
Of course.
Or just people in general. Like, you know, we've got a mutual friend who's just had a breakup and I was saying to him last night, it's so frustrating, the pain, because you have two people doing human things, wanting completely different things. Yeah. And you can't control the other person to be better or to be on your, you know, to come to your way of thinking or to want what you want. And that's just life, isn't it? It's this constant. Now, I didn't know that you have had a breakup.
I have.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Oh, that's all right.
Are you okay?
You know, it was what were we together for? Like about 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm okay. It was the right move for both of us.
Was it mutual?
Yeah, it was mutual.
Okay.
We'd been talking about it not quite working for a bit. Things had been hard because, you know, we got together sort of at the start of COVID. So we went into a weird bubble world together. And then when COVID sort of started lifting a bit and then I started having some mental health issues. And so I went into hospital a few times. So then that was really hard on us. And then once that was all over, we kind of came out of it and we were like, okay, there's no COVID, there's no health stuff. We're just two people living a regular thing. And then we started to realize we're not very compatible. Because we were very different
Everything
people.
was
that was
underway then, and
people knew. Yeah, like people knew. People found us to be an odd couple because like we were he's a bit like more conservative than me, and so politically we were very different, and also just different generally in terms of our interests and all that kind of stuff. But there was something at the core of what we had together. Like he made me feel very safe and secure and loved, and in a way that I'd not had in a relationship before. Mm-hmm. And so I think I really gravitated towards that, maybe kind of ignoring a little that things weren't working in other areas because I so appreciated what I was getting in that sense. Yep. But then, you know, it just got to a point where we weren't working, but we care about each other. We're still very close. It's been like the most amicable breakup I've ever had.
That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, really nice. But you know, it's sad. It's sad when something ends and you had imagined a life and now you're sort of grieving for a life that is not going to happen anymore. And also being 37 and finding myself single and being like, oh my goodness, I didn't think I'd be here. And just all that stuff I'm sort of going through. But like I said, just handling it in a way that has made me go, wow, therapy works because I am handling this really well. Yeah. So that is just proof that for anybody who thinks like, oh, I don't get it, I go every fortnight or whatever and I don't feel like it's doing anything, like there will be a moment, something happens in your life and you react in a way that you go, whoa, I've learned some, like that was good. And you go, it's working. It's working.
Doing its thing.
Yeah.
All that money is worth something, finally.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yep.
That's fine. That, you know, I just want to end on this because right in the beginning of, before we started recording, we were talking about wearing clothes because you said immediately, what's my, like the video, what are we showing here? Yeah. And I said, oh, no, it's just to your boobs. That's where the camera is. And you said, oh, good, because I can let my stomach out. And I was like, yeah, because that's what I think, the exact same thing. I can let my stomach out. And then you talked about Milo. Mm-hmm. What did you say?
Well, the reason I'm wearing quite a tight dress today and I'm doing it because of Milo. So I did a photo shoot with her a couple of weeks ago in Melbourne and she was just so owning her body, like all the outfit choices for her were tight and like just clinging to her skin in a way, like when they offered those things to me, I was like, absolutely not. Like I'm not, you know, that's just not what no thank you. I don't do that. I don't wear tight stuff. I wear things to flatter my body. Do you know what I mean?
Always what to hide the imperfections of it.
Yes, but on the day she just radiated sexiness and beauty and I had bought this dress that I had at home that was too tight and I was like, well, that was a waste, never wearing that. And whoever actually returns online buys, no one does. No one. And so I went home and she kind of inspired me to wear this dress. I was like, I'm going to wear it. I'm going to feel a little uncomfortable because it's tight. Yes.
We're going to get a photo of it.
Get a photo.
This. Yep.
And I'm a little uncomfortable because it's tight. It's tighter and it's, you know, it's clinging to my stomach or whatever. And that's why I said, is my stomach heavy in the shot? Mm-hmm. But she inspired me to do that and I'm feeling like good. I like this dress. Good. And so she's 23, man.
I know.
And she taught me that lesson. Like, she made me, I'm 37 and she taught me something so huge.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm 50 and you're 37 and I saw you at the Acras wearing the most, you looked so beautiful to me and you had your stomach showing and the first reaction for me was, why would you do that? And then the second reaction is the truth, because the first one is always a programmed reaction and the second one is always the honest one, which is, why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Because she looks gorgeous. And
a little secret though, that outfit was safe for me because my thing is not, I have like quite a small waist. And so I had a crop top on and a ball gown skirt on.
Yes.
And so the sort of thinnest, what I consider like the thinnest part of me was showing. I have a real issue with where my belly gets bigger and hangs down, which is why the ball gown skirt to me was covering the part I was most uncomfortable with, just quietly.
Yeah.
But
and it was a step though, because it was inspiring for someone who saw it and went, she looks so beautiful. And I could do that too because I don't have a waist. I just don't have one. And but I also have the apron, the hang down belly. So I have it all. And I just focus on my legs. Like I just do the dresses or the smocks or the whatever that show, that cover the imperfections.
Yeah.
And having Milo on, I was like, and even before that, there's a great post of hers where she's walking. It looks like she's on a catwalk, and it says above it, "That's me." And she's just in underwear, and she's jiggling so beautifully. Like her skin is shiny and dewy and stunning, and she is walking like the fiercest queen that she is. And above it says, "Me on my way to smack a skinny bitch who just said she feels fat."
She's so great.
She's so good.
When I meet people like Milo, I'm like, the kids are all right. Like
I think the same.
They're doing well.
We're going to be okay. Not just okay. With women like her around, and also the other, you were inspiring to me when I saw you dressed like that. But April Helene Horton, the Bodzilla, again, just seeing her wear her clothes, like to be the very first plus-size model on a billboard, a massive billboard wearing a bikini was everything. Like I can remember seeing it for the first time. It's just, and the way she wears tight clothing and the way she models herself and, she says how fabulous she is. And like it is so inspiring that it's this acceptance. It's not a positivity thing. It's an acceptance of us having a place in the world.
Yeah, that we have a right to be there.
That we have a right to be in love with ourselves.
To be seen and to
think
feel
we're beautiful,
sexy.
even if you don't.
Yeah.
Why can't we feel sexy? Because there's so many times when you'll put something on and you just go, oh, I can't wear that in public, but damn, I feel pretty good.
So then why can't you?
Why not? Let's change it.
I years ago, about a decade ago, started going to an eating disorder specialist to really get on top of all of that stuff and my body image stuff. And because, I gained a lot of weight due to illness when I was in my early 20s, I gained 70 kilos in a year. And so I went from being a thin person my whole life to a very big person, and now I've kind of landed somewhere in the middle. And so I started seeing this eating disorder specialist, Louise Adams, by the way. She's amazing. Look her up.
I want to have, she's on my list.
Oh, get her on.
I want her All Fired Up is one of my favourite podcasts.
She changed my life.
Yeah,
she truly changed my life. And I didn't even do that many sessions with her, but she taught me exactly what we were just saying about you have a right to be here, you have a right to feel sexy, it was so conditioned in me. I think our generation of women growing up on Cosmo and the 90s heroin chic look and all that, that I could not possibly be sexy or beautiful in the body I had. And it didn't help that I had grown up thin, so I'd always taken for granted that I never really had to think that I wasn't the ideal that I should be. I just always felt, like I looked fine. Yeah. And then when I suddenly gained all this weight, I felt worthless. I didn't realize that I had pinned so much worth on my appearance. And she just helped me completely change all of that. And so it was back when I started seeing her that I did start following, my Instagram is just filled with just diverse sizes of women who like celebrate that about themselves.
Yes.
And so I now enter the world of like looking at female like models and clothes and whatever. I've curated it. So to me, they are all kind of looking like me.
Me too.
And so,
Me too.
yeah.
I
and
unfollowed who made me feel like I'm less than, and I started following more people who made me feel like I am accepted and, great. And not just beautiful, sometimes feeling a bit ugly, but fine with it.
Yeah,
like completely
exactly.
fine with it. And people who gave me ideas on my body shape of what to wear or what to do and, everything that, I've curated the same
size,
thing.
Yeah, plus size fashion, like bloggers back in the day and now Instagrammers and TikTokers changed so much for me. Changed so much for me. And so, Louise Adams was amazing, but it really does. If you can curate that world for yourself, the women are out there and they make you feel great and it can totally change the way you think. I mean, a decade ago, I felt so weird about like my sexuality and like getting naked in front of people. These days, I'm like, I'm hot, come get it. Do you know what? Like I don't
You'd be lucky to get it, big boy.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that kind of thing anymore, whereas once that was paralyzing to me. So it's doable. It's achievable.
It is.
It's achievable.
And on that note, thank you so much. I think this is just one of the best episodes I've ever done.
Don't you feel like we could just keep talking and talking to
forever?
Like, we've got to wrap up. But
yeah, I know. It's such a shame. And I'm like, but that was a perfect ending because that was what we talked about just as we sat down. And I said, stop talking. And which is what you do on your pod as well.
Stop talking.
Keep this for the pod.
Save it for on air.
Save it for on air. And we nearly didn't. I was like, oh shit, I've got it. And so this is a perfect ending because I said we've got to talk about what we just spoke about because there's going to be so many people listening to this who are going to go, oh God, I get that. I get that. And I can do that. Or I'm already doing that. Or if you've got something else that we're not doing that you've, some kind of advice that you can add to, please slide on in to those DMs. And we also have an email called twogirls@novapodcast.com.au. I was just checking that with my producer .au.
Yeah.
But I would like to thank you, Rosie Waterland, who I just adore. What's your middle name?
Ailish. Rosanna Ailish Waterland.
Irish? Is that Irish or Scottish?
Well, it's kind of just, I think my parents were high and they kind of just made it up.
It's such a beautiful name.
Well, but yeah, it is like my dad's family is Irish, so I think it's Irish inspired. But yeah, Ailish.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think you should go by that. Rosie Ailish Irish. Rosie Ailish Irish. My God, I just gave you another name.
Rosanna Ailish Waterland.
What
it's
a
very
wonderful name.
Fancy sounding name when it's
fancy.
all
I feel like having a cucumber sandwich all of a sudden.
Yeah, right.
A finger one.
That's why my mum hates it. She's like, I didn't call you Rosie. I called you Rosanna. She hates it. Hates that that's what people call me.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more to hate.
Yeah.
Rosie's mum. There's a lot more to hate, Lee. So focus on that, eh? Thank you again for coming in. I just adore. I'm so grateful that you were here.
This was great.